Listen while I tell you a story about David and Goliath from 1 Samuel 17. It will tell you about how what seemed impossible became possible with God's help and how God was victorious. There was a time when the Philistines wanted to battle the Israelites. They put their army at Soko, which is very close to Bethlehem. King Saul, who was the first good military leader Israel had had in quite a while, lined up the army of Israel on the other side of the valley. In those days, an army might send out one man, called a champion, to fight one man from the other army. That was a way to decide who won without so many people being killed or hurt in a big battle. The Philistines had a champion they thought no one could beat. His name was Goliath, and he was a giant man. He was 9 feet tall. Many of your dads and grandpas are 6 feet tall. How tall do you think Pastor Matt is? Pretty tall. But Goliath was much bigger and taller, and he had lots of armor and a helmet and a huge iron spear. Goliath called out to Saul and his army, saying to choose a man to fight him, and whoever won was winning for their whole country. Well, Saul and the people of Israel were afraid when they heard this because they didn't have a giant champion to send to the fight. For 40 days, Goliath came out and stood, waiting for someone from Israel to come fight him. But Saul sent no one, and no one volunteered to fight the giant Goliath. But then a teenager named David, who was not old enough to be in the army, was sent by his father from where he was watching their herd of sheep to take food to his 3 older brothers who were in the army. When he delivered the food, he heard Goliath say the same words and asked the men around him, "How dare this guy, who was a pagan, challenge the army of the living God?" David did not see this situation the way Saul and the others did. They did not look to God to help them, but only saw a giant wanting to fight them. David saw a challenge to God, not a soldier who was so big that no one could beat him. Saul heard what David had said. He told him there was no way David could defeat Goliath because he had never been part of the army and knew nothing about fighting, while Goliath had been a soldier for many years, as well as being huge. David told Saul that he had kept the sheep for his father, and while he guarded the sheep, he had to protect them from lions and bears. David said if a lion or bear took a lamb, he chased it down and struck them with his slingshot or with his club and got the lamb back. David said Goliath would just be like one of those lions or bears, and the Lord would help him with Goliath just as he had with protecting the flock. Saul told David, "Okay, go fight." He gave him his armor. After David put it on, he took it off again because he said he was not used to it. Instead, he went to the stream and picked out 5 smooth stones and picked up his staff. When Goliath saw the young David with his sticks and stones, he made fun of him and asked if David thought he was a dog that could be killed with sticks. Goliath said to come over and he would kill David. But David told Goliath he was coming in the name of the Lord, whom Goliath had defied, and he was going to strike him down and cut off his head, so the world would know the Lord saves not with sword and spear, but with faith. David ran quickly toward Goliath, took out a stone, and with his slingshot hit Goliath in the forehead, and Goliath fell forward. Then David ran to him, and using Goliath's own sword, cut off his head. Seeing that, the Philistines ran away, and the army of Israel chased them and plundered their camp. David took the head of Goliath as a trophy. Soon he was brought before Saul, who then took great care of him and treated him as a hero. David knew if he looked to the Lord for an answer to the problem, something Saul and his people forgot to do, he would win. Remember that when you think a problem is too big, God is always there to help you if you ask. I hope you have enjoyed this story.